How's it going, folks? Welcome back to the Via Pinstriping page. If you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for watching. Today, we're just going to do a design. And I thought today we'll do something a little different. We'll just do the center line tape situation. So instead of rocking out a full-blown grid, we're just going to run some nice fine tape down the center. We're just going to eyeball the center, and we'll use that as our grid point, kind of, right? This is a nice, quick way to do things. It does sort of force you to be able to kind of work with a little bit of a more of a diminished sort of exact situation. Some people say it makes the design more fluid. It kind of forces you to work things out on the fly. For me, I prefer a grid because my right eye is damaged, and I like to understand, especially on the horizontal lines, I like to understand where I'm at exactly. I don't like to guess. So we're gonna use some of this alpha enamel. I think it's Teal. It's pretty old, so this is actually prior to them having a name for this. It's a type of teal. I'm gonna squirt a little bit out using my Kafka #1. This is quite a well-used Kafka. So, and for those folks that have watched regularly, sorry it's been a while since I've made an actual design video. Been kind of working on uploading those Pinstriper podcast, the audio for that. It's a podcast that my friend Jack and I made. I have stepped away from the podcast, so it's kind of not being made right now, but Jack is planning on continuing in some different form. He's just kind of trying to get his ducks in a row. So we're just going to try to work off of just this line. So I'm going to try to stay really close to it. I'm just going to run a line straight down. And the closer you are to this line, the less space you have to try to fill later. I'm trying to remain pretty close. So this is the first time I've touched the brush in probably 4 or 5 days. So literally the first line there in 4 or 5 days. So it's been a minute. So then we're going to come out. Try to do something a little interesting. So we'll go in and then back out. Before I go too far with that, I'll do the other side. So draw a line down. Try to keep the same distance. Try to keep the same line weight if I can. Right. I did get a chance to recently go to SEMA, so I went up to SEMA with the folks from the Revolt Auto Paint. You can find them online. They got all sorts of stuff for sale. So it was a fun trip up in Las Vegas. So let's try to mimic this other side. Kind of got a slight arch downward, and then we're going to cut right in. That's the nice part about these Kafkas. I don't have to spin the brush in my hand to create that motion. And that's where having the extra grid lines would help me kind of make sure I'm the correct distance away. But without it, we really have to force your abilities a little bit more. The plus side to using just the tape is you don't have to worry about erasing the grid marks, which can be, at times, a problem. Right, so now I'm going to come down and I'm going to connect down to this original line. I'm going to do the same thing right here. Come down and I'll try to make the connection point about the same as the other one. Right? Got a little frayed here, so I'm just going to touch that up a little. I was sort of running out of paint there. Right? So there we have a small design element. Let's continue adding to it. We're at 6 minutes, right? So let's come out like this. We'll connect to that. Right, this is slightly above it, so let's go slightly above it. Connect to that. All right. Let's see. So there's not a lot for the camera there. I got quite a bit of panel left, but for the camera, I only got till about right here. So let's keep that in mind, right? So y'all can see what I'm doing. I'm sort of talking out loud, but so I'm actually going to put a dot there so I don't forget. Right, that's on the tape. So I'm paletting in between, and I'm going to come pretty close in like that, and come outward some. Right? Same thing over here. Come down pretty close. And I'm going to go outward. All right, not bad so far. Pretty tight design. Paletting in between. It's funny because the way I film this, the camera really likes to pick up the whole scene, so I try my best to just like get the design right. And when I went to Daytona, I met some other pinstripers, and there was one pinstriper by the name of Mindy, very talented pinstriper slash tattoo artist. Shout out to Mindy. And she was like, watching me pinstripe, she's like, yeah, I recognize those hands. So she recognized my hands. Not a lot of pinstriping to show in my face, so no reason. All right, so we're gonna go down. So far, so good. This is a little higher than this, but I'm not gonna stress it. Now, I could, you know what? I will continue to go back down. I'm gonna go out this time a little bit harder. So, excuse me, down and straight out. Right? Got a little funky here. Kind of had a little kick out, so I'm just, what happened was I was moving a little too fast. I'm just gonna smooth that out. Kickouts can happen for various reasons. You could have the paint too wet. You could be moving too fast. You could be pushing too hard. It's just a matter of understanding your brush and your paint, which just takes time, folks. Right? So I know this brush fairly well. I like this brush. I know this paint very well. I like the paint. There's very few things that I've come across that weren't useful in some way when it comes to this stuff, as a tool at least, right? So now that I have my design built up, I'm actually gonna pull this up, right? Now I don't really have to worry so much about the center because there's only so much to fill in there. I'm going to connect these little things, and I'd like to connect them. I don't know if I should go downward or more boxy, you know what I mean? Let's do this. Let's go one more time. One more time. Out. And we'll connect them on the downward stroke. One more time here. Right? And we'll connect them downward instead. Like such. Nice delicate line on the way down. Slightly out and in. Right? Now, I've run out of paint a little bit, so I'm gonna squirt out some more paint, right? Some more of this alpha enamel. Pre-named Teal, so I've had it that long. It has stayed in my brush box and it has been out in the elements, so that particular bottle is pretty good. That particular paint, pretty good. This particular color. All paint companies have their ups and they all have their downs. So I like to use them all to try to understand what works and what doesn't. But, you know, all pretty good. The only ones I haven't tried is like that Little Daddy Roth, I guess Ed Roth's son or something like that. I haven't tried that stuff yet. When I went to SEMA, I had a chance to try that Custom Creative urethane, and they're coming out with a new enamel. Both work really good. I have some of the urethane here. It's just that the reducer that you have to use for the urethane is a little too smelly for me to use in this room. Now out at that expo at SEMA, I could barely notice it. I used it most of the time. I didn't use the enamel, I think, until like the last day, because they brought more of the urethane with them. The enamel's not quite out yet, but I was thoroughly impressed, and I could work it just fine at the show. In a little small enclosed environment, it's a little tough. Right, so I'm just filling in this space. When it's such a tight space, it's really not hard, you know. It's really not hard. And I feel like if you're bouncing back and forth, you don't have a whole lot of room for error. So like here, I'll probably just do a teardrop shape, right? Just fill that in. And I'm using the two outer walls to maintain the middle, right? I think for me, the problem arises when I don't have the walls anymore, right? Once I get past it, like if I curve a little to the left or to the right, for the most part, folks ain't gonna notice. But you know, I like to be accurate with it. Sometimes I'll leave a little piece of tape at the bottom, like I'll pull it down and leave some tape at the bottom, and that sort of tells me at least which way I need to be going. Right, I'm just cleaning up my line a little bit. There's no shame in going back and cleaning up your lines. Your connection points, you know, if you feel like something's a little too thick, a little too thin, right? Now, I have nothing cutting through the middle because of the tape, so I'd like to add some of those elements. And I was thinking maybe downward or outward. I think outward would kind of add to it. So let's start here. And we're just gonna go down past this. Just add a little bit of an element that's not so up, right? So I got up. It feels like everything's up on this one. So I'm trying to add a little bit of a down. Now here's, for me, this has always been a big challenge, getting the same shape, right? So right above it, it ends slightly outside of this. Pretty good. Now, instead of connecting it from the top, I'll probably connect it right here just to give it sort of a little bit more, I don't know, it makes it a little more interesting, I think, that it doesn't connect up here, it's connecting down here. You know, small things to try to add to the design, right? Move it down. Trying to think if I want anything down here. Put a couple of dots. So I'm just gonna make dots, right? So you can sort of make them by circle. So do one side, do another side. You can do it also with the back of the brush. So you dip your paint, a little bit of paint on there, and you could just dab. Sometimes I have a hard time with that because I can't see it as well. So even though these are less round, you can sort of make them with that brush. All right, a couple little dots. Dots are one of those, it's like salt and pepper, kind of like you can go overboard with them and it makes things look a little circusy. And you could, if you do them just right, kind of just adds a nice little element. There's a pinstriper by the name of Clarky. I'm unsure where he's at, but I always loved his use of dots. He kind of, it's very tasteful, you know. And I think we'll add some sort of hash marks in this open area. Just again, give it a little bit more interest. So we'll just do 1, 2, 3. And you'll see people, so you see, I learned doing these by watching Hot Rod Jen. Her little hash marks that she does are so tasteful. And sometimes I forget they exist. And then when I do them, I'm like, oh man, it just adds so much if you do it right, you know. Big fan of Jen. If you've not found her page yet, or if you don't follow her page, please follow all her stuff. And look up my buddy Clarky. He's fantastic too. I don't think there's any other pinstripers with the name Clarky in the name, so look him up. He's cool. See, I think the only downside to using these so close is like I could tell that this is just a little further out than this, so these look smaller and these look wider. But again, that's like just personal stuff that I notice. So we're at 19 minutes. I'm trying to think if there's anywhere else that I'd like to add something. I like that there's dots down here, but I feel like I need dots on top. So I'm just gonna I'm actually gonna use the back of the brush at this time. So what I do is, I'm gonna squeegee with this piece of cardboard, squeegee some of that paint out of there. And the puddle that's left over, see how it's been squeegeed out some? The puddle that's left over, I'm just gonna put some paint on the back of the brush there. I'm gonna find a little puddle. See how there's, whoops, see how there's paint there, right? And I'm gonna try to put a dot right here. Now the longer you leave it on there, the wider the dot gets. You just gotta be careful. We'll try to put one on the same spot here. Be careful that the paint's not too runny when you do this, or else it will cause a run. All right. And I want it to be bigger, so I'm gonna put a little bit more paint. See, I'm not the greatest at these dots. They kind of get funky on me sometimes. If you try to overwork them, they just get weird. And they will dry sort of wrinkled sometimes, so keep that in mind. If you do dots, sometimes you put them on, and then when you come back to your artwork, you'll realize because it's so much matter, I think, is why they kind of become wrinkled, right? All right, so I feel like I got two there. I kind of just want sort of, here, this is the problem with dots. You kind of want them everywhere then. So maybe one right here. And one like right here. Right. And one in the middle. Sort of as a finishing dot, right? So we're gonna call that finished. I'm just gonna clean off the back of my brush now. I'm gonna repalette and I'm gonna sign it. And I hope you guys like the design. I'm actually low on paint, so I'm gonna add just a little bit of paint. I know it's been a minute. Forgive me if you guys don't like the podcast. Jack had to cancel the Buzzsprout, the platform that we were using to upload the podcasts. So in doing so, we're under the impression that they're going to disappear from Spotify and all those other places. We're not sure because it hasn't happened yet. He did cancel the Buzzsprout, but we're just making sure they're still available. You know, we got so much good information. We got so many good pinstripers that we've interviewed on there that we don't want that to get lost. So I'm uploading them all onto my YouTube. And they're fantastic to listen to if you haven't. We got sign painters, we got pinstripers, and we got some really good information on them things if you haven't listened. So, do my little signature. And I always add a little swoop because it's actually to the right a little bit. So the swoop allows me to fix it some, right? So now giving it a little bit of a left swoop kind of recenters it for me. So I appreciate y'all watching. And hopefully I'll get some more videos up for everybody here soon. If you could please like the video, if you could try to subscribe if you've not subscribed, if you could share, and if you leave a comment, it's huge. It helps me out so much. The more interactions that people have with the video, the more that it will get shown to other folks. It kind of like boosts it up. And now, this is some people's favorite part. I know it's my favorite part. I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of that. I don't have many blank black panels. So, matter of fact, I have one. So this has been my make a video panel. And if you all ever want to purchase some art from me, just let me know. I got some stuff laying around, and I could always make new stuff. So have a good day.